This podcast is brought to you by the Disabled But Not Really Foundation, a local Kansas City nonprofit organization that pushes to instill a physical limitless mindset that breeds courage, confidence, and competence within the disabled community. You can follow and support Disabled But Not Really on social media or go visit their website at disabledbutnotreally.org. Their work and their mission is to really impact communities and make more people understand the benefits of inclusivity.
Our Blackness comes with this enormous amount of creativity that we are able to tap into. And if you just look in at the history that is often glossed over or just forgotten, we as Black men and women have been inventors and creators as long as we have been around.
Why is it important for companies and organizations to harness the power of diversity right now and allow that conversation to be included for the understanding of role models and leaders and start to fill in those seats?
I'll just be real quick on that. You know, companies want to be the best, right? And if you just have one group making decisions, you're not going to be the best, right? I mean, I think about, Duquesne, right? The university is so much better because it has Quincy, right? Quincy sees things that others don't see. Quincy's able to provide, array of counseling tools that others can't provide, right? And this isn't for Black students, it's for all students, right? Me being in my position, I'm able to see things and do things that they could never do. I've got connections and networks that they never have. I mean, you look at Dr. Samuel, he's able to reach kids, and not just Black kids, Black, white, green kids, in ways that nobody else could, right? You look at Chaz and just all the things, and, I'm a big fan of yours. I mean, just, from the Pirates, I mean, your different lenses makes whatever organization you're with so much better. And so, it's a total asset. It's a total win for these companies, right? It's not handouts. It's not, helping us. It's actually helping them.
Shout out to this group. I mean, what a powerful group here, right? I want to say that, right? I will say that to Wes, to your question, companies can't do it with fakeness either, right? We know so many companies out there that are doing it for pretend. When we lost more Black people in the summer due to violent acts, something changed because it had to. It wasn't new to us, but many of these companies kind of woke up and recognized the fact that they need to do more. DE&I isn't enough anymore. We got to go above and beyond in order to make significant change. Don't hire me because I'm a Black dude. Don't hire me because I'm a person with a disability, right? I'm going to go into that place and I'm going to flip it upside down. And some people are going to love that. Some people are going to hate that. But I'm authentically me and I'm unapologetically me, right? And you get in the whole me when I come into that institution or organization. So what I mean by that is companies can't do this fake or phony. They have to be authentic. They have to be transparent. And they have to do the hard work in order to make change. And there is a business case, as Bill pointed out, for DE&I in all companies, no matter what brand or business you're in. There is a significant business case, whether we're helping the bottom line, we're creatively generating more revenue, whatever it is, there are definitely business cases for this work.
I would like to add just that our Blackness comes with this enormous amount of creativity that we are able to tap into. And if you just look in at the history that is often glossed over or just forgotten, we as Black men and women have been inventors and creators as long as we have been around. And we often have done many things in the forefront way before white counterparts that have gotten credit for. I mean, Jenner is getting credit for creating or being the father of vaccination, but we know it was not Jenner who was the first person to ever practice vaccination. We know that it was an enslaved man from Africa that did that. We know that optics, the study of optics, first originated in the Middle East and over in Egypt, not here, not over in Europe and where white people existed and controlled everything. So many times, I think that organizations are afraid to let us in because we're going to do just like Chaz said we're going to do. It's going to be a shakeup, and it's not an intentional shakeup. You know what I'm saying? I can't help the fact that every time I turn around, I am thinking of some way to solve a problem, but that's what we do. And we probably do it so well because we're constantly trying to solve problems from the day we're put on this earth, right? When it comes to just being a Black man or a Black woman, you're faced with figuring out how you're going to get through this mess one way or another, right? And that's just what we do. So you also gain an enormous amount of creativity. I think that, you get people who are thinking outside of your normal way of thinking, and that's where creativity comes, and that's where success comes.
I know that we was going to go right into mental health, but I wanted to make sure that we added that part, because when we talk about mental health, I think it's important to make sure that without these conversations held in the workplace, it is conflicting the mental health of their Black counterparts and their Black employees. Because if you don't understand, and we've known, it's like the George Floyd situation, everyone's coming to work traumatized on that Monday, and you can't even have a conversation, and you're trying to think that they're supposed to, give you 100%, and they can barely give you 20 because they got to go home and explain to their kids how this was on everything and all this, and then, cry with their moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas because it's the same history repeating itself, right? So that's where I wanted, because I thought that everybody should speak of why we are important assets in companies so that we can give them a different perspective that brings value, but also a better understanding. So because there are so many Black issues in America, you got to understand that we come in with just not our color, but we come in with everything and all this adversity on our backs too.
This is something that I think is really important to talk about, especially as Black men. Like, you guys represent a sector and a culture that we're not allowed to show weakness, and we're not allowed to be vulnerable, because then it affects us in the workplace, it affects us in the home, it affects us in the community. So Quincy, it's on, we would love to hear from you about Black men and mental health, and hear from all of you about how you're able to sustain your resilience and sustain your mental health.
Absolutely. And Wes, I love that you, I think that the George Floyd situation, how it impacted all of us in reference to mental health, that's something that's absolutely something that needs to be spoken to. In reference to racial stress, racial trauma, and Black men specifically, what tends to happen is, in April, as you just echoed, we tend to hold it in. And there tends to be this because we're not at the top of the list of quote unquote suicide or whatnot, this thought process that the Black men are so resilient, which we are, which is great. And at the same time, when it comes to life expectancy, the life expectancy rate of Black men, in reference to the CDC, who's dying the fastest, which population of folks? Women are outliving us on average by 10 years. White men are outliving us by an average of 5 years. And Black men are dying. We're checking out faster than everybody else. And a part of that is because we don't have, when we talk about racial battle fatigue, it's difficult to fight and heal at the same time. It's possible because that's what we do. And it's difficult because it tears us down faster. So with that being said, it's important for us to promote our healing. It's important for us to promote our well-being. And a part of that for men specifically is being in spaces where we can be vulnerable, being in spaces where we can talk about how I really felt about watching what happened to George Floyd, and having an opportunity to be uncompromisingly angry about it, and able to voice my frustration of hurt without the thought of, if I do that, I'm likely to lose my job. And unfortunately, because of many of us being the only in our environments, because we have been under this culture of having to hold it in, having to be strong, having to hold it together, having to make sure that the wheels on the bus keep going round and round, that we don't stop. I got to make sure that this is in place. I got to make sure that this is in place. I got to make sure the kids are okay. I got to make sure the lights are still on. We don't stop. And our bodies begin to stop physically, literally, in reference to heart conditions and all of the other stuff that comes with that. Our bodies literally begin to stop. So from that standpoint, of course, I can't be on this panel and not say that it's important to go to therapy. That's number one. Black men are therapists. Black men do go to therapy. I know because I've seen them. Number two, living a life of well-being and taking the time to invest in what no one can take from you. And that's your mind, your body, and your spirit. For those of you that may not be spiritual, your mind, your body, and what your truth is. No one can take that away from you. And being intentional about investing in that. Stay connected to people that can connect with who you are in reference to your identity and your truth. There's healing just by us getting together as Black folk and just talking about what we go through. There's healing in that within itself. But I really just want to promote intentionality around living a life of well-being and not holding it in when this stuff happens. That is reflective of racial trauma and reflective of racial stress, because what the research says is when we say to ourselves, well, that's just the way the world is, or if we say to ourselves, well, this happened and you know what, it's just the norm. That's the way things are always going to happen. It tears our mood down even more.
Thank you for joining us and listening to the podcast. If you would like more information on the guests and the stories that you've heard today, and to hear stories from others, subscribe to the podcast. We also invite you to subscribe to Open Up Pittsburgh's newsletter, as well as our YouTube channel. We want you all to take care and remember to make your own stories. This is April. Peace.